Hey guys, today we have an exciting video because we're going to be talking about our 3 favorite up-and-coming distilleries in the United States right now.
We're dealing with rye whiskeys 100%. So if you like rye, this is the video for you.
Alright, so in the past 20 years, the amount of distilleries in the US has exploded from about 70 distilleries to over 2,000 now. So you have a bunch of craft distilleries now doing a bunch of great things. And then recently, the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky announced that they were going to be merging their craft distilleries into the overall Kentucky Bourbon Trail.
Even more whiskey for everybody else to enjoy.
Yep.
Only 20 years ago, we had about 3 major distilleries that were making rye whiskey. Now, rye has exploded, and now you're seeing rye whiskeys all over the place. So, for our number 3 whiskey, Redwood Empire.
Specifically, the Emerald Giant, which is their brand of rye whiskey. Now, Redwood Empire, they're actually located in the heart of wine country in California. They're in Sonoma County. But they're doing some pretty cool things with whiskey. And this is their version of a rye whiskey.
So one of the cool things that I like about Redwood Empire is that they focus on the environmental aspect. So for every bottle that they sell, they plant a tree. So that's a lot of trees. They planted over 1 million trees already.
That's incredible.
That is a forest.
Good for them too for selling over 1 million bottles of their whiskey. So every Redwood Empire bottle features a caricature of John Muir, who is famous in the Northern California legend, big into hiking, the environment, stuff like that. All right, so what Redwood Empire does with their distillation process is they focus a lot on innovation. So as an example, they use something called a mash tun, which is a direct steam injection, which helps break down the starches into sugars.
I wonder how that affects the flavor. That's interesting.
Yeah.
They also use a micro column still, which is a 2-column distillation process that purifies the whiskey a little bit more. I just want to tell the world right now that I look incredible. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
I just get so many just fruit notes on this.
Yep.
You would not expect that from a rye.
Not from a rye. I'm getting honey. I'm definitely getting some dried fruit and spices in there.
Yeah, I get like dried apricots on this. I could see the honey, but the first thing that I got was the fruit, the dried fruit, the apricots.
That smells amazing.
It does. And you know what's interesting about this? Their website says that it's 95% rye and 5% malted barley. But then in another part of that same website, it said 92% rye, 5% malted barley, and 2% or 3% wheat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the breakdown was totally different.
It was very different. So we don't know exactly what it is. It seems like it's a pretty small, minor change, whatever it is. It may have a little bit of wheat, it might not. But I found that to be very interesting.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, you definitely get that dried fruit, the apricots on this. You did get some of that, you know, typical spice and pepper from a rye.
Yep.
But this is so nice, man. This is
I
so
love
smooth.
This is one of my favorite ryes out there right now. It's a nice finish for a rye whiskey too. Some of them linger for a while and they're spicy, peppery, but this one, it lingers for a minute and then it's very smooth on the back end.
Right, yeah, it kind of evolves as it stays in your mouth for a little bit, as the flavors stay in your mouth. It does go from, at least for me, I got a very fruit forward at the beginning.
Yep.
I got that pepper, but then once you swallow and it kind of just sits, it starts getting a little bit more minty. I get some of that, the cloves and that type of spice from the rye. It's a really nice, very smooth sipper.
Yeah.
The MSRP is $40. So it's a very affordable bottle. I think that's something to take into account when you're looking for whiskey and you want something that's not overly priced. This is a very nice rye.
Yeah, and another reason we chose some of these as our top 3 is that the accessibility of them too. You know, the affordability and the accessibility, meaning they distribute to pretty much all of the U.S., if not the entire U.S.
All right, so barrel time.
Okay.
What are we gonna give it?
I love this whiskey, this rye whiskey. I think based on our barrel standards, I'm gonna give this one a 4.
I would say so too. Let's go with 4.
Okay.
4 barrels, Emerald Giant, all the way. Still very, very good.
Yep.
Highly love this one. Very smooth. If you like rye, check it out. You won't be disappointed.
Honestly, even if you don't like rye, I think this is a great introduction to rye whiskey. So, Eddie, what's our second choice?
Well, Ryan, thank you for asking.
Bam! Boom! Oh!
Still Austin Rye Whiskey. They call this the Artist. So Still Austin, I'll give you a clue where it's from. Guess. You have one shot. It's called Still Austin.
Miami.
Close. Still Austin is from Austin, Texas.
Oh.
Our own backyard, and we actually go to Still Austin all the time. We love Still Austin because they have a lot of really cool flavors, a lot of different whiskeys, and they try a lot of unique things. Something that I found interesting is that even though Still Austin had been founded since 2015, they didn't release their first bottle until 2020.
Okay.
So this, I mean, it only has about 4 years.
Nice.
Their distillery, and they've grown exponentially, and a lot of people are catching on to Still Austin from all over the world. Still Austin is very big on its Texas roots. So the rye is from Texas, the distillers are from Texas, even the artist that makes these covers are from Texas. Everything is Texas based. So Still Austin brands themselves as being grain to glass, and grain to glass just means that they focus on sourcing the grains all the way through to sourcing the glass where they pour it in, the bottles. They're very, very much hands-on. They're very much involved in every step of the way.
You know what I found really interesting about Still Austin is that they were the first distillery to open within the city limits of Austin after Prohibition.
Look at that.
Yeah.
So this one here is 100% rye. 99.6% proof, so not quite 100 proof.
Just missed.
Just missed it. And it's also $50 MSRP.
Not bad.
Okay, so I'm getting vanilla. Again, even though it's 100% rye,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the rye that comes from Texas, that maybe it's a little bit different, a little bit milder, but I'm not getting a lot of spice on the nose.
I'm getting some citrus notes actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, you get citrus, you get vanilla. I mean, to me, the smell, the nose is a lot more like a bourbon than it would be a rye whiskey.
And part of the aging process here in Texas is it's so freaking hot here that it tends to age quicker, if you will,
Yeah.
you know, compared to some of the other more moderate climates like Kentucky or Scotland or anything like that.
I'm also getting cherries, a little bit of like dark chocolate, like a little hint of it.
I actually get a little bit of ginger in this one.
Yeah, I could see ginger too. Yeah, this is a pretty complex one, at
Yeah,
least
it
from
is.
the nose.
Yep.
Yeah, let's see if the taste is any different.
All right. That's real nice.
Yeah,
A little bit spicier than the Redwood Empire we just had.
absolutely.
But no, it's actually fairly smooth for a rye whiskey. It still has a little bit of kick in it, but for a rye, being 100% rye, it still has quite a bit of smoothness to it.
See, for me, I do like that it has a little bit more kick because this reminds me of a rye. So if you like rye and you're already familiar with rye, this is an incredibly, incredibly smooth rye whiskey. And I love that about this because it still feels like a rye. And some people like that.
Honestly, overall, if you had to line up the different types of whiskeys in the world, ryes are not at the top of my list. However, I really enjoy this one.
Yeah,
This is one I would always have on hand. And we're lucky that it's in our backyard too.
absolutely. Thank you, Still Austin.
So now that we've tried Still Austin, now we gotta rate it. I have a rating in mind.
What is it?
I'm giving it 4 barrels.
I think that's right. I was gonna give it 4 barrels as well.
Yeah, it's affordable. It's easily available in most states, and I think this is a great rye to have on hand.
All right, are we ready for our big kahuna, our number one choice?
What's it gonna
For
be?
The best rye whiskey from up and coming distilleries in the United States.
What do you guys think it is?
Let us know below.
Type. New riff.
Yes!
Yeah!
Okay!
So with all of these distilleries that we're talking about today, all of them are 10 years old or younger. This one's the oldest, being founded in 2014. Just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio, in Newport, Kentucky. So just like Still Austin, how they have a musical theme to their names, New Riff also came up with their name in a very similar manner. They were thinking about bourbons and whiskeys as musicians, and that they wanted to create a new riff on an old tradition.
One thing that I love about this particular bottle is that it is 100% malted rye. And a lot of people don't realize that there's a difference in the flavor profile between a regular rye and a malted rye. So the malted rye gives it a little bit of a lighter, sweeter taste that you normally don't get from an unmalted or regular rye. Regular rye tends to be a little bit more spicy, nutmeggy. This one should be a little bit more subdued, a little bit lighter. a little bit smoother, a little bit tastier, and that's their whole point. That's what they want to go for.
Every single one of the bourbons and ryes that New Riff creates, every single one is bottled in bond. So that's kind of a cool feature because not many other distilleries do it that way.
Another great thing that New Riff does is that they do not chill filtrate their whiskey. The idea of chill filtration is that they literally chill the whiskey and they use a filter to remove all the impurities and all that stuff that you might find in a whiskey over time. Now, there's a belief in some circles that if you do that process, if you do use the chill filtration, that it waters down the whiskey a little bit. It removes some of that flavor because some of those elements that the whiskey has also plays a role in the flavor.
Right.
So if you remove that, you might be removing some of the flavor. That's the approach that New Riff takes, and they believe that non-chill filtration is the way to go, and that's what they do with all their bottles as well.
At the very bottom, it says something called sour mash. What they do in a sour mash process is when the whiskey is fermented, they save some of that batch and they place it into the new batch of grains and water so that the flavor profile can remain consistent throughout. I get dark chocolate.
Yeah, I get dark chocolate.
You get a little bit of the pepper.
Right, yeah, I still get some of that spice. It smells like a rye still to me, but I do get some chocolate notes.
Yep, it smells a lot sweeter than the other two that we tried.
It does, it does. Like a different type of sweet to me. Like it's not just like fruity sweet. To me, it's like
dessert sweet.
Dessert sweet. Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it.
Thank you.
You're a smart man. All right, let's
don't ever delete that. That is fantastic.
See, I got the thickness. It feels like a blanket.
Yep. Super thick.
Yeah.
Much thicker than the other two we tried.
Absolutely. And I do get some of that chocolate notes that you were talking about. I definitely get that.
Yep.
I get like bittersweet, dark, like cacao flavor.
I'm also getting some like baking spices in there.
Yeah.
So this is sort of like a dessert whiskey, but not overpowering in the sense it's like a port wine or something like that. It's subtle, but it gives off the chocolatey flavors and aromas. Yeah.
And it still feels like a rye.
Yep.
This to me feels like a rye whiskey. It just has some notes on there that you wouldn't necessarily expect, like the cacao, chocolate, almost like graham cracker sort of flavor there towards the back. I mean, to me, this almost, you could kind of get a resemblance of like a s'mores on this. MSRP of this bottle is $60.
It's 6 years, so for $60, not terrible.
No, you're right. Yeah, I mean, it's been aged for a long time. Yeah, there you go. Easy peasy. $60, go get it.
The cool thing about trying these rye whiskeys side by side as well is that, yes, even though they are all rye whiskeys, they're all different. Just because it's a rye whiskey doesn't mean it's always going to taste the same. Each distillery has their own process, different barrels that they use, and the overall process that it goes through ends up altering the end flavor.
And it's surprising how much the flavor is affected by every single step of the process of making whiskey. The yeast that people use plays a huge role in the flavor profile. The char of the barrel plays a huge role. If they even char it, because you have to char it if it's a bourbon, but if it's not a bourbon, which these are not, you don't have to char it.
Right.
So even though they're all ryes, they're all very different.
All right, so it's time to rate this one. How many barrels are we going to give it?
All right. I mean, obviously this one is our number one choice, and it's number one for a reason.
Yeah.
This is a very complex rye. It's delicious. It has a lot of chocolatey notes, which I love in my whiskey. To me, this is a 5.
Hands down.
Hands down a 5.
No question.
Yeah.
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 It's going to be rare, if ever, that a whiskey gets a 6. This is pretty close.
Yeah.
This is pretty damn good.
I would say so.
Yeah.
I would say so. I mean, this is the best sipping rye whiskey I think I've ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bold statement.
This is delicious.
What are your favorite up-and-coming distilleries that maybe we don't have access to here? Because some distilleries don't distribute to all 50 states. If you've got one in your area, let us know about it.
In the meantime, please like, subscribe, share with your friends. If they like whiskey, we want to know them. We want to meet them. We want to shake their hands. Until next time, cheers.